When we look out at a landscape like this, our brains automatically break it down into parts. We see a winding river, steep mountains, and stretches of dirt. Humans are wired to perceive reality as a fragmented collection of separate, individual objects and places. But around the 6th century BCE in the eastern Gangetic region of India, a new wave of thinkers began to see this fragmented worldview as a psychological trap. If we are just temporary physical forms, defined by our separate individual bodies, then we are entirely at the mercy of decay. They called this relentless cycle of birth, death, and decay samsara. As long as people attach their identities to physical bodies that eventually break down, they were doomed to repeat this agonizing passage from one life to the next, over and over again. The traditional Vedic priests offered fire sacrifices to secure wealth or a long life, but those rewards were temporary. They offered no real escape from the terrifying infinite loop of samsara. A new solution was required. Enter Brahman householder Uddalaka. He located the source of human suffering in a pervasive blindness. We remain trapped because we fail to recognize what the universe is actually made of. People assumed their actions and desires were the only things tying them to the physical world. Uddalaka suggested the true anchor holding humanity in this endless cycle of death was ignorance. People were dying and being reborn because they didn't understand their own underlying reality. To break this ignorance, Uddalaka instructed his son Shvetaketu in a method of radically deconstructing human perception. He wanted to look past the illusion of individual objects and find the permanent substance beneath them. He starts with a simple analogy. Think of a clay pot. We call it a pot and it has a specific shape, but if you crush it, it stops being a pot. The shape and name are temporary. The absolute, unchanging truth of that object is simply raw clay. Uddalaka applies this exact logic to the entire universe. Every separate thing we see, stars, rivers, animals, humans, is just a temporary shape. If you strip away their physical boundaries, all these diverse objects dissolve back down into a single original source. He called this source the existent, a reality that is one without a second. According to Uddalaka, this singular existent propagated itself into the physical world through a cascade of creation. It emitted heat. That heat created water, and water created food. The dizzying array of life forms we perceive today is an illusion, a superficial composite of heat, water, and food that obscures the one reality beneath it. But this raises an obvious question. If this ultimate existent is hiding inside every living thing, how can we prove it's there? It is completely invisible to the human eye. Uddalaka answers this by pointing to the natural world. He asks his son to consider the sap inside a tree. You can't see the life force surging through the wood, but that invisible sap animates and connects every single branch and leaf into one living entity. Then he points to the massive banyan tree. If you split open its tiny seed, you find almost nothing inside. Yet an imperceptible, microscopic essence tucked within that seed contains the power to grow into a towering giant. Finally, he tells Shvetaketu to dissolve a chunk of salt into a bowl of water, and then look for it the next morning. The eye cannot see the salt anymore. The physical form is gone. But if you taste the water from any edge of the bowl, the flavor proves the essence is undeniably distributed everywhere. Like the dissolved salt, the subtle essence of the universe escapes our physical senses entirely. We cannot point to it or hold it, but it constitutes the absolute, undeniable core of all reality. This understanding of reality dictates exactly what happens to a person when they die. Uddalaka viewed death as a mechanical reversal of creation. A dying person's speech devolves into their thought fades into breath, their breath loses its heat, and the body finally devolves back into the original existent. Everyone physically merges with this supreme reality at death, but the danger lies in dying with an ignorant mind. If a person still perceives the world through the illusion of duality, if they still believe they are a separate individual entity defined by a specific name and form, they resist this merger. Uddalaka compares the ignorant mind to a man dragged into a desert blindfolded. Unable to see the underlying reality, he wanders aimlessly, clinging to his physical desires. This confusion forces the mind back into the physical world, where it is inevitably reborn into a new, decaying body. The only escape mechanism is jnana, true lift knowledge. This knowledge acts as the guide who finally unties the blindfold. It points the mind in the right direction, ending the aimless wandering. Āraṇyaka uses one final analogy to describe this liberation. When individual rivers finally flow into the ocean, they permanently lose their individual names. They lose their boundaries. They simply become the ocean. The ultimate revelation of this teaching is that you are not your physical body. You are not your name, and you are not your individual shape. You are the invisible essence of reality itself. As Āraṇyaka tells his son, "That art thou." By fully absorbing this knowledge, the concept of the individual self dissolves. Without a separate self to protect, all physical desires evaporate. The ignorance holding you to the physical world is destroyed, and the agonizing cycle of rebirth is broken forever.